everybody. This is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of interviewing bassist Peat Rains. If you don't know Pete, he plays with you Bred Raptors, and I'm putting the emphasis on the question mark. So Pete, welcome to Bass Musician Magazine. So great to have a chance to talk to you. So that people that don't know you get to know you a little better. Tell us a little bit about your bass journey. How did you get started in the world of bass?
I think I've always kind of colored outside the lines, and I saw everybody else wanted to start guitar, and I was like, that's lame. Let's do something that's going to perpetually keep me at the low rung of the totem pole, musician ladder for the rest of my life. And I just wanted to try something different, so I started bass when I was, 10 years old or something, and then I started taking it more seriously, and I could tell with every band that I was in, I was the very serious, unfun person to be around. I took it more seriously. I booked the shows. I wanted to write more songs. At a time when you're just supposed to be learning your instrument, having a good time, I just bypassed all of that. I just became this grumpy, crotchety old man about it, and I was like, I got to double down on this. So it's just important that I learn the bass. I played 4-string, and then I immediately jumped to 8-string with no real rhyme or reason. I never took lessons, and I just wanted to kind of expand what I already knew. And I got signed as a solo bass player around 20 years old in Philadelphia, and then that label went bankrupt, as most of the labels went in the early 2000s, and then I moved to New York. So I've been holding down that fort of being the unpopular bass player ever since.
Gotcha. And with that said, you Bred Raptors, and still accentuating the question mark, how did you guys get together? Because I noticed that you have a strong underground presence.
Yes, quite literally underground. I don't hate guitarists, but I have worked with plenty of them, and I just wanted to start a band on my own that was just no guitars, no vocals, and I wanted to add a string player. I would like a cello or a violin or a fiddle, or just 2 basses and drums. But either way, no guitars. I wanted to keep them as far away from this project as possible, and so just kind of on a whim, we tried out for the Music Under New York program. We had been a band for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and that's it's a program in New York City where you get to play underground with permits in the subway stations, at allotted spots. There's about 30 or 40 different spots you can play, and you have permits to play and permits to sell. And it's a ton of exposure. Like, there's 60,000 people per hour that are going to see you. So I came to New York to play in front of people, and you're not going to get much higher numbers than that. So that at that point it was just a drummer and then I found a cellist, and then every other musician on earth can go through that turmoil and hassle of going through so many drummers. So but now we got a good unit, and we've been touring for like 7 years now. We've done about 1,000 shows. So, and the subway, it's they're 3-hour shows, and it's hot or it's super cold, and you're kind of at the whim of every New Yorker's mood because it's constantly fluctuating.
Gotcha. Well, and at least the acoustics are interesting. What with tunnels and all that.
Yeah, interesting's a fairly good word for it. It's just you'll have a junkie next to you yelling at you, telling you you're going to go to hell, and that creates this really nice ambience next to. Or somebody comes up with, they have a shaker or like a tambourine just out of nowhere, and they do their best to stay on beat, and they fail every single time. Or some breakdancer wants to come up and dance to your music and then take half your money in your box, and it's just every night is different is my point. So, but you can't beat it. I'd much rather play a subway show than a venue show. At a venue show, you're fighting to get paid. You got to bring a bunch of people. They'll have to drink enough alcohol. You got to sit through other bands that you might not like. You have to deal with the sound guy. But in the subway, you're your own sound guy, merch person, front house manager, whatever you get paid is the honest cut of what you get in the knife. If people don't like you, they walk away, and if they do like you, they'll stop. So I'd much rather that than the fake handshakes and, trying to beg for a support slot, which we do as well because we're gluttons for punishment.
Well, nobody ever said the music business would be easy.
No. And they did, they were lying. They're big jerks.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump back, though, 8-string, because that
Yes.
has you in the realm, and if I remember correctly, you're playing a Conklin, one of Bill's
Yes.
basses. It's one of the great debates in the bass community because you've got so many people that have a problem with somebody playing more than 4 strings, which it's kind of like if they're not making you play it, what's your problem? So play what you want, but
Well, yeah, I think you just nailed down every internet comment ever in, a metaphysical form. Like, if I'm not making you do it, why is it upsetting you so much? But you're right. There's between the traditionalists and the people that are trying to do something different, it's vitriolic at times.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I've talked in conversation with some of the ERB players, just kind of abbreviating. I find it to be one of the frontiers of bass. It's kind of pushing an envelope because, again, we started out with 4 strings. We started out with upright basses. It doesn't mean we have to stay there.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
a whole evolution.
I don't get it. The bass is so young. It's maybe 60 years old at the most. And the one argument that I never understand is like Jocko only needed 4 strings, and I'm like, first of all, bitch, you're not Jocko Pastorius, and I'm not. He is not the poster boy for playing, within rules.
Mm-hmm.
He was all over the place as far as boundaries. He made the bass what it is. He would scoff at the idea of like being confined, and there are pictures of him playing a 5 or 6 string bass. So just shut up, those people that say that, those people that always mock us, I'd like to see you play Continuum, flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you can hit the final note of Portrait of Tracy, then maybe you can say I'm a poser, because I'm just trying to do what I do and use the bass not as like a bass, like it's a songwriting tool. It always has been for me. And I just, every time I get featured or, I'm in a bass discussion, it always comes up. They're like, you don't need that many strings. Like, why don't you play a harp? Why don't you play a guitar? I'm like, why don't you stop being a dick? Like it doesn't need to be confined. That dogmatic, archaic, ritualistic bullshit of like, I get it. You love the P bass, you love Billy Sheehan, but like there's more music out there, so just chill out, man.
Totally. Well, and of course, under this interview, we'll see a stream of complaining, like, how dare you? But, it's, again, I don't think we should stifle the development of the music and in the instrument by holding on to that puristic. And again, it's a thing of choice. If your voice is on 4 strings, which there's some amazing players that's what they want to do, then, power to them. But, don't necessarily stifle somebody who wants to try to do something else. In addition to that, amplification-wise and pedals, what are you using?
Oh God, here's a rabbit hole. Okay, well, because I live in New York City and because a lot of the venues we play forbid you from using big stacks, and because I don't have a car and I live in a small Queens apartment, it makes sense to just have something small that packs a big punch. So I use a Harkey 350 head and I use a small 12-inch Bergantino amp that it wails on tour. Like, it sounds great, and I found an EQ that I like, and it's just one handle. It's not like the monster Ampeg 810 that you can't, like, we don't have a vehicle that can really fit that. It just, I don't need to be that loud because I'm playing with a mostly acoustic instrument like the cello, and in that range I don't need to be super low and sludgy. Another reason the 8-string works so well is because I have those registers that can kind of fit with the sound of a cello and drums and glockenspiel. As far as pedals, I recently got endorsed by Mojo Hand FX, Cusack Music, and Rougarou pedals. So I've had to completely revamp my sound, which is good because I was definitely needed it. Because I'll be honest with you, and if that comment section below us isn't filled with hate right now, it's about to be inundated, because for years I was using only Boss products, and I have nothing against Boss products. They're made like tanks. They're small. They're a great musician budget, and I brought them into Subway for over 700 shows. But I'm kind of growing out of that, and my distortion sound, people would come up to me at the end of my shows and be like, "What is that sound? It sounds great." And I'm like, "It's a Boss metalcore." And then they would just go, "Pfft," and then they'd walk away with their cape and their top hat, and they would be really pretentious about it. And I'm like, "Listen, it works for my instrument. I had like 10 distortion pedals, and that one sounded the best with the 8-string bass." So, but I'm glad that I found something even better with Mojo Hand. They believed in me, and they gave me a whole lot of their pedals, and Rougarou pedals did the same thing when we were in tour in Louisiana. So I've got to like make a pedal board finally, which was almost out of reach because I played in the Subway and everything had to be battery powered. So having like a full pedal board that drew that much power, I needed an inverter, and I'm so glad that they were all helpful. We went on tour, and we visited the Mojo Hand factory. They showed me how all the pedals were made with like this archaic, like 50-year-old equipment. It was beautiful just to see that stuff still being made in the country, and I'm just super glad for this new sound because now I can focus on writing again. Once I have the sound, because I was just, I had the big last Line 6 pedal, and out of millions of configurations, I had 4. I just banked the 4 sounds, and I wasn't really growing. I was getting too comfortable, so I've had to become really big nerd about pedals recently because I'm now doing demo videos for all these companies. So it's fine. So now I still don't have a big bank to get awesome pedals. So since I don't have a Strymon pedal, those same assholes at the show are like, throwing their top hat and cane again. They still don't, I can't please them. So it's okay.
Well, and if you're going to stay true to your own music, it's got to be your own journey. And it's certainly managing, if you had infinite funds to do something, that's one thing. And technology changes. And so you're going to have people that are going to build using older techniques and older approaches. And again, nothing wrong with that. And then you're going to have, at the other end of the spectrum, we were looking in the last NAMM show, there's one company that's got like a computerized pedal board. So basically you pick your pedals, load it onto your desktop. From there you load it into this little box, and it has your configuration all set. So you only have a tiny little box with you. All the pedals were preset into your computer. So that too will evolve. But, again, it's like, who wants to be the first one to start out with that? It's got to get tried and true, and certainly under the conditions that you're playing, also having durability and weight and bulk. I mean, it's also, you don't want to be carrying a 50-pound pedal board around with you.
No, and I did that for years, and it's just not worth it. I have to pretty much have my own thing, and so I'm endorsed by Temple Audio, which is the perforated pedal boards, and there's it's like just too small, and I have like one other pedal I want to put on there, and my friend's like, just put it on the side, and I'm like, no, that's dangerous. If I put one on the side, then it's gonna turn into 2 pedal boards. So I have to keep everything, and it's like Tetris because you can only move things like a quarter of an inch at a time. So I'm like, it has to be this small. And I think if you have anything more than that, then it's getting to the point like the drummers who just keep adding shit on their kit as opposed to making new beats. So I have to temper myself in reality and know my weaknesses, and buying new effects would definitely be a weakness. And so maybe I'm glad for my poverty line, playing for $1 bills in the Subway. So it keeps me humble.
I gotcha. Well, and speaking about the band, I know you guys have done some recording. You had a single that released in May. What kind of projects you guys have going on?
Well, we just released our fourth LP, so it's called International Genetics, which is the company in Jurassic Park that starts the cloning. So I told you we're getting abstract, you know. But we're doing the last 3 years have been seasonal touring, and we're starting to open up for bigger and better acts. And we're still doing the Subway. We're a house band at a Broadway show, and we're doing scoring now. We're scoring an audiobook now, which is really cool because usually we've done film and television, and that's like this visual medium, but now it's this audiobook. So the level of interpretation just, exponentially skyrockets. So now you read the book and you feel what does this part feel to you, and then you get to kind of write a piece that will be the underlying bed when an audiobook is being read. So we're super excited about that because we've never done it. It could completely blow up in our face, but that's what we're about, is just constantly challenging ourselves. And we're going to tour a lot on this album, but we have more this comedian type of philosophy where we work on this stuff for like a year or two, and then we release it, and then we kind of want to start all over. Whereas most bands, they'll release something and then they'll just tour the hell out of it until they get sick of it. We're already at that point where we're like, we want to keep fresh. We don't want to get stagnant. We want to keep the crowd wanting more and guessing, and hitting new markets. You're tempted to just keep playing the same set that's tested and reliable, but it's important to always hit them with something new, something different, and that's what we do in the Subway every single time. We don't do set lists. We jam on a lot of stuff, and we just kind of feel out the energy of the room and then decide what we're going to play.
Very cool, very cool. And looking ahead, what I know you had mentioned greater, touring, broader geographical area. I know you guys are going to be in Pennsylvania coming up, this weekend or something?
Yeah.
But maybe more countrywide, worldwide kind of stuff. What other plans, ambitions, goals do you guys have?
Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, like climbing the ranks, basically. We just got signed to a record label. We just announced that like a week ago. And that was like a long, hard-fought process because, like I said, I got signed when I was 20 years old, and I didn't think I had made it, but I thought that I was on the right trajectory. And then that label tanked, and after a couple years, and that's a devastating thing because you think like, that's it, that was my shot. And so it's been a long, hard-fought battle to find somebody else that gives us this chance. And because we play with masks, because we don't have a singer, because we don't have a guitar player, because even though we're beautiful specimens of men, we still have to it's still hard to find somebody that cares enough to give us a shot. Somebody who's going to be like, you know what, we're going to put you on this support slot because it musically makes sense. The music business is not what it was when we got signed. There was no cash advance. Those days are over, and we're trying to get on an agent's roster, basically. Like, we're trying to get a booking agent to do this because right now, the 60, 70 cities we've done in the last year and a half has been booked all by me. And that's not like a brag. It's like, that sucked to do. That's 90 hours of unpaid work per week, a lot of daily rejection. If anybody even gets back to you, it's usually a no. So you're hitting all these different areas, and I love doing it at this level, but getting on a booking agency roster would really be a life changer right now for us because this is what we do. This is our full-time job. We all have side hustles, but this is it. And just because we have a label doesn't mean my job is going to be any different. It just means somebody's going to be in our corner fighting for us, which has not happened before. Somebody, that we haven't had to pay per month, basically. It's just somebody it's made up of other musicians, other bands on our label. They're also grinding it out. They're doing what they have to do, and they're believing that if you just work hard enough at something, something good will happen. And we have to believe that. Because right now it's just like, go on YouTube, play some covers, get a viral video, go on Ellen show. There you go. And that's not really an option for 99% of bands. So we're going to hit Europe for the first time in 2018 in May, and maybe somebody over there will care more about music, because the states are a little cold to us at times. So we're just going to keep doing what we do, and hopefully get on more scoring soundtracks. So we love doing film soundtracks, and license some more songs, and just sell out the Coca-Cola as soon as we possibly can.
I hear you. It's certainly, we've been talking to musicians that have been at this in different stages of their life, and it's the one thing that always comes up is there are times of struggle, and so some of your most heavily working musicians now certainly had times when they were on somebody's couch, or they were looking to see, again, they were hustling to see what they were going to do. So again, it's always something that I won't say it makes any less of where you are right now, but it's something that I've heard, and I think the thing that keeps coming up is when you persevere and you stay with it, it can come to fruition at some point. So big encouragement to stay with that, because like I said, I've been talking to folks like even Lee Sklar, he's 70 and he's still touring. And he's still on it. And among the things that keep coming up is dependable musicians, not flaking out, staying with it. I think anybody that comes out of New York has a lot of drive when it comes to this is what I got to do, because it's a kind of a cutting edge environment. It's tough, and it's the only place I've seen a couple of books about being a bassist in New York, because it's so demanding that there has to be some kind of guidance. Now, granted, there's some basic caveats in the books that are usually like have dependable gear, don't be an ass. Things that seem like common sense that would help.
Don't be an asshole. I got it.
And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that could help get you working. And depending on the kind of gig you're looking for, if you're trying to sit in on, Broadway shows, or if you are working the club circuit, a lot of it's changed from doing, in-studio recording or commercial work like jingles and things. I mean, a lot of that is dried up. So you have to evolve, and you have to change, and you have to go, okay, this is how we want to do it without compromising your artistic integrity and keeping intact the music that you're bringing forward. Now, straying away from music briefly, I do have to ask, the masks. You're wearing masks. I saw the picture. What's with the masks? What's the motivation there?
I mean, I started doing that when I was solo bass player, and I was playing at this thing called the Drawathon, which was like 20 nude models and about 100 artists. So I'd be up there playing, but I'd be clothed. So I wanted to kind of give the artist something interesting to draw. And I didn't just, because it was like a 3-4 hour show that I just played straight, no breaks, because that was kind of the vibe of the room, was just they want to draw. And it was like a good deal for like an artist. Usually you have to pay a couple $100 an hour, and here's like 20 nude models for like a base price of $40 that you can just draw for 5-6 hours. And so I started wearing masks there so they could draw different things, and then it just kind of worked. It fell into place because we played in the subway, and you literally have 2 seconds to capture somebody's attention. Like that's 1, 2. People look up, they see it, they go back to playing 2 dots on their phone or whatever they're doing. Yeah. So the visual element helps kind of stop people in their tracks, and they immediately want to hate it because they've seen so many weird things happen in the New York City subway. But we know, like, I'm confident in the music to keep them there. It's just snapping them out of that post-work, commute home, where it's like, I have 1,000 things to do. I just want to get home. Like, the subway smells. It's hot. There's weird people. Like, some dude's creeping on me. Like, but if we can like add to somebody's day, then it means the world to me that we're changing somebody's life in such like a minute kind of thing. But if we were just like 3 guys just playing our music with a sad face, nobody's gonna stop. So we understand that there's a branding element to it, but it also helps the anonymity. I kind of like that, and it keeps people there. They know not to talk to us because tourists, they'll put their arm around you and want to take a selfie with you. I'm like, I'm doing a tapping solo. Like, I'm not the naked cowboy. Like, leave me alone. Like, we're real musicians here. It helps people come out and take pictures on their phone, and hopefully they look us up later. But if you want the hippy dippy answer, it's, these songs aren't for us. Like, once we make them, they're for everybody. And these songs can be about anything. It can be about, your dog dying, or it can be about your breakup or your promotion or whatever, blah, blah, blah. The blank stares to the mask kind of is just like this neutral conveyor, basically, of that. I mean, that's the hippy dippy answer, the one that I kind of subscribe to, but it also helps in a lot of other ways. We notice that when we do interviews, like, other countries just kind of get it, but we like last night we were playing in Herald Square last night, and some woman just like tapped me on the shoulder, like, why are you wearing a mask? Like, while we're playing, she had to know. It was this big mystery. Like, I need to know right now why you're wearing a mask. And I just didn't answer her, but she was really upset. So I'm sorry. You don't get to know. If you gotta ask, you don't know. So, but the mask, they change over the years. We've gone through like 200 of them. They get really gross and stinky, and then at the end we sell them to our fans, and somebody wants these gross masks at the end of our tenure.
There you go.
Better for us.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Pete, we appreciate you taking a bit of time out of your busy schedule. Where's the best place for people to find out what's going on with the band, if there's a tour date or, what's the latest released?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, not MySpace. So I'm going to say we're on like 40 different sites, which means I have to remember 40 different passwords. But if you go on our Facebook, which is facebook.com/Bred Raptors NYC for New York City, that's got a consolidation of everything. Or ubredraptors.com, ubredraptors.bandcamp.com. That's got all of our merch and some high quality stuff. Like, don't just stream, people. Buy your music. But we're also on Spotify and Tidal and Pandora and everything else you can think of. So, but I'd say Facebook or the actual website. I'm paying somebody to update the website for me. So please go there, so he'll feel validated, just like me. Okay.
There you go, perpetuating the industry and the human
Right.
effort. That's perfect. Well, again, Pete, thank you so much, people. You Bred Raptors.
Thanks for having me. That's right. You got it, man. Thank you.
Check them out. Hear the music in the subway. Don't wrap your arms around them. They're performing.
I got personal space issues.
There you go. So anyway, folks, check this out. Peat Rains from Bred Raptors. You're catching it live here on Bass Musician Magazine.